Another major in the books, and we find ourselves here making another video where we try to figure out what exactly is going on with OpTic and why aren't they able to make that grand final on Championship Sunday. If you look at their roster from top to bottom, they have all that it takes, right? You have each position filled with quality players. They've shown that they can beat really good teams at certain parts throughout the season, but they're not able to put it together. At least they haven't been able to put it together yet when it comes into the majors and making it to Championship Sunday and really performing well in Championship Sunday. And the biggest reason for that is that they're just still making tiny, small mistakes over and over again. And what happens is those small mistakes end up compounding themselves and it costs them maps. And when you do that against the best teams like the Dallas, Atlantas, Torontos, New Yorks of the world, it's just not good enough to get victories over those squads. So I went through and I ended up watching that elimination match against the Dallas Empire 4 or 5 different times. And as I was watching, I found some really small, silly mistakes that OpTic is making over and over again. And in this video, I want to go ahead and I want to go through those with you. There's just a couple things which ends up taking what could be almost a tie game in some scenarios and gives that time to Dallas. And now instead of being tied, you end up being down by like 50 or 60 points. And if you do that once or twice in a map, it's over. So let's go ahead, and the first map that I want to get into is this map number 4 that they got eliminated on, this Moscow Hardpoint. As you can see right now at the top of your screen, it's 62-23, but that's to be expected because Dallas got this right-hand spawns on the right-hand side of the map to start this map. So all you have to do is just hold down the spawns throughout P1. When it comes to P2, you can get the majority of time in P2. And if you do that, that's where this large initial lead comes from. But all is not lost because if you're OpTic and as it goes over to P3, all you have to do is just get the time inside of P3 and you end up having a tie game as it goes to P4. And whoever ends up winning P4 normally usually wins the first series of rotations. But as we look at this, I want to start this just by looking at their setup. And I'm going to compare this setup to the setup that Atlanta FaZe had in this very same major. So first of all, I do like down here where Scump is at. However, this is normally a main AR because if you're a main AR, you want to be able to engage in these long line of sight gun battles. And if you have Scump here against an AR like Illy, it can be tough to win that gun battle at times. So right here is Dashy. I would have rather these two switch spots and moved just a little bit. So right now where Dashy's at, essentially he's watching the push through this closet door, which is okay. And then if we look here, this is Formal watching elbow, and Envoy's actually pushed up, not even inside the hill, but he's pushed up in this heady location where you see a lot of people in S&D, and he's watching the choke point. So right now, I guess you could say that they kind of have it covered, but there's absolutely a better way that they could come through and have this set up. So this is Atlanta's setup against Toronto. And if we look at this same exact setup, 5 seconds left in the old hardpoint, literally everything is the exact same, but I like the way that this is set up more because, one, you have Arcides down here towards the bottom of the map watching the push down towards the bottom. You'll say, well, he's not exactly in bus, so he's not watching the cross this way, but that's okay because they have another main AR back here towards backstairs. And if anybody was to come through that golden area, they would be killed by Celium because as they try to exit that route, there's no really way for them to go. And then if we just finish off where everybody's at, you have a BZ pushed up right here. So if they go through mid, obviously they're going to get killed going through this direction. And you have Simp inside the hill looking at the choke from this direction. So I like this setup more, and the biggest reason is because where you have long lines of sight, you have Arcides down here towards the bottom, and you have the back spawns covered. So you have Celium right here. So even if every single one of his teammates go down, his teammates are still going to spawn on him at least one more time until Toronto gets pushed up a little bit further and is able to work their way through the back. As we go ahead and hop back over to this film, you're going to see why this ends up hurting OpTic. So let's go ahead, let's play right here, and Shotzi right there, he actually ends up getting through. Dashy doesn't get those initial shots, and this is just, it is what it is. It's not terrible. Shotzi does get a 2-piece on Formal and right here on Scump, but he is going to get traded right here in just a moment from Dashy, and right now, everything looks pretty good, right? If we zoom in on the minimap, you can see that Dallas is spawning over here towards top Eskies. So right now, everybody's been taken care of. So the only option they really have is to push through this choke point towards top Eskies. And those that died from OpTic are still spawning in the back. But where the issue comes through is where players are going to go from here. So let's go ahead. Let's press play. Let's let this play out for just another few seconds. Crim6 doesn't get through. But right here, even though Dashy got a 2-piece, it's really easy to miss the fact that Illy got a kill on Formal. So if we look right here, Illy died, but he ended up taking out Formal, which is this backmost player right there. And what that does is now if you look at OpTic's setup, they don't have anybody back in this left side area of the map. Remember, right before this, we were talking about how good it was that Atlanta FaZe had Celium in the back. Well, now there's nobody back there. So if we just stay on this same exact screen, remember the 2-piece that Dashy got on Crim6 and Illy? Well, in here in just a moment, you can't actually see it all the way. It's a little bit out of focus, but right here in the back, this arrow is Crim6, this arrow is Illy. And as this is about to play out, you can see that normally you have to fight really hard for this pinch to work out this way, and OpTic just gave it up because they didn't have anybody playing disciplined from an AR perspective in those back library stairs. So now Dallas can pinch this way and they can come through top Eskies, and right now there's still 33 seconds left inside the current hard point. So as we go ahead and we watch this play out, you can see we're on board with Crim. He's going to come through. He's going to end up getting shots from the back. Shotzi gets a kill on Dashy, and there's nobody left. So with 21 seconds left in the current hard point, Dallas has been able to basically just get that back spawn for free. They come through, and now what would have been a slight OpTic lead going into that last P4 hard point ends up being these last 10 seconds are going to go to Dallas. It's going to be a 90-49 lead. So it's just a really silly, simple mistake, right? All you have to do is just cover the back, make sure somebody is all the way in the back holding down those spawns, let your SMGs push forward and deal with what's happening inside the hill. And if you do that, then you're going to take care of business and you're going to end up having a tie ball game. Now, with that said, they do actually get back into this game by what they do inside of P4. So there's 35 seconds left inside this P4. You see Envoy going off. You see Dashy here also getting kills. And there's still 28 seconds left inside the current hard point. And basically all of that time has gone to OpTic. They did a really nice job inside of P4 of being able to bring this back. But just think, they get 50 seconds inside of P4. If they had a lead at the end of P3 by holding down those back spawns, they would be a team with a 50 or 60 point lead right now. And, oh, by the way, they also have the right side of the map spawn. So they could be up by 60. They're inside of P1. If we look right here, we can see that number 5 arrow Formal is inside of P1, and they have the right-hand side of the map. So when you're going through and you're talking about what's happening here, it's just one tiny mistake, and even though they're tied, it should be a much bigger lead. Now, there is one more mistake, and it comes at the end of this P1 that we're currently on. So a lot of this is a ton of back and forth. They're actually doing a listen in right now. It is what it is. It's not all that terribly important, but as you're watching this, notice what starts to happen over the next 30 seconds or so. So OpTic, again, did a really nice job of winning that team gun battle inside the current hard point. They still have right side spawns. Everything right now is perfect. It's set up to make sure you're holding down that right-hand side of the map. But soon, that's all going to change. So Dashy gets a kill on Shotzi, Scump gets another kill, and again, it's perfect. They have control of the right-hand side of the map. They're allowing Dallas to spawn all the way out towards top Eskies, but right now, there's a bit of confusion, okay? So if we look at this setup, notice where these OpTic players are set up. So first of all, you have Scump and you have Envoy, your two SMGs, essentially watching the same push over here towards the bottom of the map. In that listen in, Scump did say that the bottom street is open, but right now you don't need two people covering this same area. Formal and Dashy, both of your ARs are in the back, and they're both looking the same direction over here towards the lobby from top Eskies. Right now, there is nobody watching the middle of the map. You should have an AR down here towards the bottom watching the push through street. You can have an AR up top watching the push through mid, and then all you have to do is have an SMG preferably in the hill watching the push through lobby, and an SMG roaming somewhere between mid to help out your AR support and through the bottom. If you have all of that covered, there's nowhere that Dallas can come from. And what you're going to see here over the next few seconds, I'm going to leave it on this screen, is Dallas is just going to say, you know what? They're giving it open. Right now, Vivid and Shotzi, the 1 and 2 arrows, are pushing through, and they've already almost gotten to the stairs, and they're noticing that there's nobody from OpTic there to cut them off. So as we watch this right there, Vivid is already inside the next hill. Shotzi is pushed up. Finally, Dashy is starting to pay attention and realize that everybody is pushing through mid. But as he's doing that, right there, Scump goes down, Envoy goes down, both to ARs because they're out of position. They're not where SMGs should be. And at this point, it's a 3v2 in the race for the back, and it's a split spawn at this point in time. If that area is contested, if that P2 area right here becomes contested, then one team's going to spawn up top, one team's going to spawn in the bottom, and it's a race to see who can get there first. So as we watch the rest of this play out, right there, Dashy ends up going down. Formal is the only person that's left. He tries to take some shots right there, and Shotzi climbs through the window and ends up killing him. And as we look at this right now, you can see that all those Dallas players are on the right-hand side of the map. They end up getting all of this time here inside of P2. They funnel OpTic through this lobby Eskies area, and there's just nothing that OpTic can do at this point to really get back in this ball game. So there you have it. It's two very simple mistakes when it comes to setups, where if their setups are altered just a tiny bit, they're going to get those kills. They're going to be able to hold down that time, but that is inexcusable. And from a top 4 or 5 somewhere in their team, you cannot be making those mistakes, especially at this point in the year. What's the issue? I don't know. I do think it's very odd that they have one coach in Sender, and that's it. They don't have an assistant coach. They don't have an analyst. If you look at Atlanta FaZe, they have a head coach, an assistant coach, an S&D coach, an analyst. I mean, they have 4 people alone in their coaching staff, and that's why you don't see Atlanta making these same mistakes, because there's just so many eyes and brains breaking all this stuff down. And OpTic just doesn't have the same setup right now. So hire some more coaches, get some analysts in there to really break down film like this. I think it'll end up paving the way for a little bit of a different result as we get throughout Stage 5 and into Champs. So if you guys are new around here, you enjoy this sort of breakdown, make sure you go ahead, hit that subscribe button, leave a like if you don't mind, as it really helps out the channel. And with that, we will see you guys in the next upload.